Good morning. You listen to the Blaine's World webcast. Heard on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Get more information about past shows and previous shows, future shows as well, at my website behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce William Leavengood, who's a playwright, director, and teacher, among other things. Bill, that's just touches what many things do. For being my guest today. And Bill, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So,
Thank you, guys.
okay,
Hello
that's
to
Bill.
friends and fans.
And I should mention that today's guest is Bill Leavengood, a two-time O'Neill playwright and Circle Repertory alumnus whose work spans over 50 plays, screenplays, and musicals. His credits include off-Broadway productions, Los Angeles premieres, and regional hits like Web City, the musical, and The Azure Sky in Oz, which went on to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and award-winning writer with multiple national and Florida honors, continues to bring bold new works to the stage, including Florida Man, Tale of the Bell, and the upcoming revival of the political satire, Dilliard. And I should mention that in addition to all that, Bill, you're also a singer of note, or you do
Well,
barbershop quartet.
I would say that I'm suddenly a singer of note. I have not been a singer of note at all before this, but it was on my bucket list that I would love to sing in a barbershop quartet at some time in my life. And so at the age of 64, some people I had cast in a show had a four-part harmony chorus, asked me to join. I joined in December. We went to competition in St. Augustine in May, and we ended up winning the state championship. So I rose quickly. And so
Very
now,
cool. Had you ever
yes.
sung before?
Well, yeah, I mean, I come from a musical theater background in high school and college. And so, yeah, in musicals, but not, no, other than karaoke and things like that. No, I don't sing other than in roles I've done in musicals.
And Bill, to kind of go back a little bit, so I met you not too long ago at SAWT, but before that, as a kid, you grew up where? In Florida?
I grew up, was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. But as I was saying to you, our family has been going to Hendersonville, North Carolina since before I was born. So, whatever, 70 years every summer. So I'm very familiar with and love the Western North Carolina area.
As a kid, did you always know you wanted to be in musical theater and theater in general?
I, well, I saw a production of Oliver when I was 7, and I immediately said, I want to be those people on stage that I'm watching. That seems like the thing to do. So that was my love of theater. I started writing pretty soon after that, to be honest. Somewhere around 10 years old, I began writing short stories. And I've kind of always known that that was what my thing was going to be. I wrote my first short play when I was 17. I wrote my first full-length play when I was 22, and I've never stopped.
Do you remember the first show you were ever in?
It would have been a variety show at when I was in middle school, where I just song and dance scenes. The first actual show was Anything Goes. That was
Just I asked that, Bill, for a reason, because I've given this idea to SAWT, and hopefully they'll pick it up one day. But I have this great idea for a fundraiser that everybody would recreate the very first role they ever did, you know. So like you were in Anything Goes. Is there a record of that anywhere?
that there's might be a picture of me as one of the sailors, but Blaine, I think we'd have to move ahead at least a year to when I started getting cast in more major roles that I could recreate.
Okay. But wouldn't that be cool? You know, you could then have this
Yes,
clip somewhere you could show other people or they could see you perform.
that would be fun. That would
Okay,
be a lot
so
of
keep that in mind. I've asked several theaters I want to do it as a fundraiser for somebody. So your very first play was Anything Goes that you had a major role in. How old were you then?
15. Little Abner was my first major role, though. That
Okay,
was when I
so
was
that was in
15.
high school and then you went on to
High school.
continue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you performed. When did you know you wanted to also get into writing?
Well, I had been writing again since I was 10 years old. One of my favorite stories is when I was 11, I wrote a story called Hip Son, which so upset the administrators at my school that they suggested to my mother that I should go see a psychologist. And that's when I knew I was a writer. But I wrote my first play when I was 17, and so I never stopped that. I think what happened though, Blaine, is when I left college and I went to LA and New York, I quickly realized that there were a lot of actors as good or much better than me, but that I had yet to meet someone my age who could write as well as I could. So I decided that would be my focus.
So what's the first play that you ever did that was produced anywhere?
Uh, it was called The Winter of Youth. It was it was produced at the Orlando Civic Center, I think my senior year of college or the next year. I then went out to Los Angeles. I had a actor who was looking for a vehicle to show he could act. He loved the play. It looked like that was going to happen. And I said, "Oh, that's how it happens. You leave college, you go out to LA, they realize you're the greatest thing." And of course, what happened was they attached some producer to it who convinced them not to bother with my play. It was killed. I then moved to New York after 9 months, and another producer picked up the same play. And I said, "Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. I'm on my way." And we were going to do an off-Broadway full production, and all of a sudden he stopped calling. And 3 months later, I found out that he had had a stroke and gone blind. So he was no longer interested in producing. So I often tell my students, I have all these great stories, but most of them have sad endings.
In that particular play, did that ever get produced anywhere?
In Orlando, yeah,
Oh, it
at the
did.
Civic Center.
So
It did,
people,
yeah. And then I wrote a sequel to it, which had its own almost fabulous life. Again, this would just be telling stories about, the famous people who almost did my play.
the in terms of the stuff you do, and I'm so impressed with it in terms of writing and then performing, acting. Do you have a favorite part of that, what you do, and teaching as well?
Boy, who knew I would be a teacher? And having said that, I absolutely love teaching. It has been wonderful for me. It actually helped me put my two daughters through private school, and I also got to teach them and direct them in shows. In fact, my youngest is going to be in the reading, singing of Florida Man in a couple of weeks here in St. Pete. So that was great. I mean, I just I loved doing musicals as a performer, but as I know that my thing is writing. I just feel like it's just like swimming for me. It's like riding a bike. I can take anyone's story and develop it and help them. I know how to do just about everything you can do as far as a writer, so I stick to that.
Now, if you can, talk a little bit about Tale of the Bell, because that's how I first met you. And
Yeah,
I know you came up to saw it to direct that play.
yes.
What's the story behind it, though? I think is so interesting in terms
Mhm.
of who was in that play as well.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about it.
Sure. So I was lucky enough to teach playwriting to high school students, thanks to the head of our theater department at Shorecrest. And they could take it up to 4 years. So they're talking about 4 full years
Wow.
of a playwriting course that just advance. So we produced a lot of really good writers. Gabe Newstat was one of our stars. He went on to undergrad at Harvard as an English major, and then he went out to LA to work in the writing field. And he is, a writer in Hollywood now with, agent management, all that good stuff. But in the early days, he had to do tutoring to pay the bills. And so Tale of the Bell was inspired by his experiences as a tutor for very wealthy families out in California. He will insist that a lot of the stuff that happens in the play never happened to him, but certainly there is a ring of authenticity for sure. And when he sent me the play, because now it's a two-way street, I will send him my stuff and get his critiques, because again, he's a really, really smart guy and a really good writer. But I read Tale of the Bell, and I was so delighted because I saw him following all the everything I taught him about how to structure and put together a play he used. This is not to say that he didn't completely have his own voice, but he knew how to write a play. And I said, people had helped me when I was younger to get, push my career along. And I decided I wanted to try to do the same for him. So I got it read in New York with New Circle Theater Company, which Amanda Ladd is a part of. And then Amanda and I interested Sart in doing a reading of it last summer. Uh, Will, the artistic director, really loved it, and to our surprise, said he wanted to add it to the end of their season, and that's how we ended up at Sart. And the other part of that is the two actors in it are Amanda, who I met in New York, but only to find out later that she grew up in St. Petersburg, where I did. And the other actor is Eric Jacobson, who was one of our stars again in high school, that really one of the most naturally gifted actors I'd worked with. And I've worked with a lot of really, really talented young people. And so we brought him in at age 22 to play the 28-year-old tutor because he just has, it's just, he, the power and the honesty and the understanding of acting that he has at such an early age is pretty remarkable.
It must be very exciting for you as a teacher to then be working with some of these people that you just, I guess you can see it, that you just kind of know it, that they have something to offer.
Well, yeah, well, oh, for sure. And I really do have always seen my students as like surrogate children of mine, that I'm that involved in wanting them to be happy and complete and succeed and all that. So I cast a lot of old students in shows whenever I can. A, to help them, B, because they were trained by me, so I know they're going to know how to do it. So
And this particular play, I don't know if it's going to have legs or has it been produced elsewhere or done elsewhere?
uh, they did some kind of workshop in Los Angeles, but I think that would have been 6, 7 years ago, something like that. But never a full production until Sark. Yeah.
Okay, I just mentioned though, if folks ever get a chance to see it or catch a Tale of the Bell, really cool play. And it's also just with the people he had in it, it was just so fascinating, so much fun to watch. And it was to me it was so believable, you know. And
Yeah.
the best thing about it, Bill, I think, was the fact that my wife turns to me and asks, you know, was that real? You know, she just felt it was, you know, real, and she wanted to know what happened. And then just an aside, I thought it was kind of cute. You mentioned you had some people in the show, but they didn't have any written dialogue. But talk about who you had on the wall. So I thought it was kind of
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Well, that was something that we added, and then I added more. But because we had toyed at one point in having the woman's daughter that the tutor was tutoring brought on stage, and after one night I came back, I said, never mind, I think that's an awful idea, but let's 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 try to create a offstage character on stage by the use of photos. I think Gabe added the idea of a photo, and then I said, let's have a portrait of her when she was a young kid that is almost like from the film noir movie Laura, Rebecca, whichever one had the portrait of the dead wife on the wall that became a presence. And that's what we tried to do. And in the way I directed it, I tried to keep bringing her to life, even though we never see her. They're constantly looking for her out the window to see where she is, referencing her photos, her children's books. So we try to create a character that you actually never see.
And did it, I think, very, very well. To the extent I think I kidded you afterward. You should have made it like Harvey, and at the very end, she would appear, or she would appear with her photo, you know, or something like that. But so good though, and I so much enjoyed it. And so now, That kind of points out it's interesting that you do a bunch of different things. So that one you directed as well. So you wrote that as well? No, he again the other guy wrote it. You directed
Right.
it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
the
I've directed probably 50, 60 things. Yeah.
and how many have you written?
50 or more, 50 or 60.
Put you on the spot. You have a choice, and I'll tell you that what actors tell me. But if you have a choice, directing or writing or even acting, do you still act, by the way?
uh rarely. And I mean, the last time I did it, I ended up, as an actor, I did a great job, but as a old man trying to remember my cues, it was perilous. And I realized, I didn't want to make a fool of myself. The last time I did something was with a man named Bob Devin Jones, who is a kind of iconic theater figure down here in St. Pete, where we did a reading of my two-man play, Silver Alert. And that was terrific. But the whole idea was this is Bob and me for the first and last time, because neither of us can memorize a full-length two-character play. Uh, and we had a lot of past, ups and downs, over the last 25 years as artists in St. Pete. It was a very cool experience, but that was the last acting I did, was book in hand, so I didn't have to, test my memory.
It's when you say that because I'll ask a lot of actors to defer acting or directing, and oftentimes they'll say directing, but the truth is, sort of what you referred to, is the fact they don't have to memorize lines that way, So a lot of actors, it seems like, go on to become directors.
Yeah.
Um, I guess some
It,
directors act as well, but it's usually the other way around. But
it, it, it's nice. I like directing, but as a director, I'm employing all the things I've learned over the last 40 years as a writer and an actor to my directing. I used to start with the first rehearsal, telling the cast that I was not a visionary director. I was then told by friends, it's like, hey, don't say that. It's like, well, the point is, I'm not going to come up. Okay, we're going to dress you all in red cellophane, and we're going to restage this. It's just I'm going to take the story and I'm going to tell it and stage it as effectively as possible to draw the audience in, tell the story, and create as many moments and stage pictures as I can. But I don't have some vision that, comes to me in a dream that I then apply to a stage production. So I like directing a lot. Um, Boy, I guess I still have to go back to writing, because that it's just the thing that I seem to have been born to do. That it just it came it just has always come to me, um, in a very natural way. How to tell a story, how to put together a plot, how to create characters, how to write dialogue. I know there was a big jump for me when I first read what a play was, because I mean there was short stories.
Right.
Once I got to plays where it was about people's behavior and dialogue, I said, "Oh, this is where I want to live." Yeah.
As a director, have you ever had to step in at last minute when an actor got sick?
There's Thank God it didn't happen. But
Okay.
my first off-Broadway production was a play of mine called Florida Crackers, which was relatively autobiographical about me and two of my brothers on St. Pete Beach in the good old bad old days of sex, drug, and rock and roll. And the actor who was playing me, I think it was opening night or the final preview, just started throwing up off stage. And it's like, okay, we've got a sign ready that you're going to go on if he can't go on. And thank God he could go on. So no, I haven't done the waiting for Guffman thing, but it may be coming. Who knows?
As a playwright, talk about, if you would, your writing process. Is this something, do you get up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and write for 3 hours straight? What's your process?
Yeah. Uh, when I have that luxury, I am a morning writer. Yeah, I'm happy to sit and write for, yes, 6 to 8 hours a day if I'm on a writing retreat. I think at some point it becomes diminishing returns. And then I'm not foreign to happy hour and cocktails. And so every once in a while, I will also decide I need to write some stuff in the good old classic sense of the alcoholic author and drink and write stuff. And then I got to go back and fix it in the morning. But yeah, so those two ends. But yeah, I've never, I really have never had writer's block. Um, and again, I know that sounds like sure, buddy, but if I have a block, it's because I know there's a problem in a script, and until I come up with how I'm going to solve that problem, I can't, you know. So I don't know if that's a block. It's that I just know that there's a problem I have to fix, and until I can figure it out, it makes no sense to keep writing on something.
Now, when you write, some folks still do, I find it incredible. Do you write longhand or do you write with a word processor or on a computer?
Well, Blaine, I fought that stuff as long as I could, forever and ever. I mean, when I started out in LA right after college, I had to pay some guy $1 a page, which was a king's ransom to type up my scripts. And then word processor, how horrible, how awful. Like, oh, wait a second. I can just erase and start over, and I don't have to, like, use the whiteout and all that stuff. Okay, I'm in. Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, it flows from my brain through my hand to the keyboard. That's fine. That'll be plenty of creativity for me. So yeah, initially I was like that, and no longer. Now the keyboard is the same as it, pen in hand.
And I haven't used it really. I'm not a writer per se, but people do talk into their computers now, or do it. Have you done that at all?
Well, I am a technical idiot. Uh, not only do I not like technology, I fear it, I shun it. So anything that anyone else started doing 10 years ago, I'm just beginning to decide. But I know what you're talking about. Voice texting people on with my phone is as far as I go, and they get so many awful wrong messages from me that way already. It's nothing that is inspiring me to want to do it more. But certainly that would be easier. But again, the speed at which I type has never, slowed me down. So yeah, okay. So again, because this has been my thing forever and ever, of course, I'm hearing everything in my head anyway. So whatever I'm writing, I'm already hearing in my head. So it's not like, oh, well, if you talk it out, then you'll make it sound like real people talking. It's like, that's how my brain works now.
Very cool.
I'm
Bill,
doing
so
this.
we're now into, I'm trying to think, September 2025. I was
Yep.
just overwhelmed by you. I was asking what's coming up, how you
Yeah.
even keep track of what's coming up. But just in the next month, talk about some of the projects you're currently
Okay.
working
Well, first thing is Florida Man. Uh, I've written a number of musicals, written either the book or the book and lyrics, and Florida Man is our new one, musical comedy, and it was given its first reading a few months ago, and now it's in a new play festival at the Beach Theater on St. Petersburg Beach. That's September 21st. Then the Sunshine City Chorus, which, as I told you, I somehow stumbled into a four-part harmony chorus in December. We went up to the state competition and miraculously, really miraculous, we couldn't believe it. We actually won the state championship. So we're performing at the St. Pete Museum of History. Then Tale of the Bell, which we did at Southern Appalachian Rep, uh, is coming to St. Petersburg. We're going to do 5 shows, October 2nd to the 5th. And thank you, by the way, to SART, who have been so generous in loaning us all the props and letting us use their artwork. And so that's that. And then I have Drilled the Musical. This is another show that's a political satire that's going to be mounted in January down here. I've got another reading of Florida Man in New York in November. And I'm still teaching both high school students and adults. So it's a busy retirement because I'm supposedly semi-retired.
I was going to ask you also, how do you keep track of all that stuff? That's a
I,
lot of
I
stuff.
have a calendar, and every day I write down exactly all the stuff I have to do. and then cross it out as I get to it.
And one of
You
the
may
things I
notice
thought,
like my voice is a little hoarse because I just came back from singing for 2 hours, a rehearsal followed by a performance with the four-part harmony. So lost a little bit of my voice here.
okay, well, it sounds better than mine, so that's good. I'm fighting COVID here, but it amazes me that you're able to do all these different kinds of things. What do you see yourself, Bill, in the future doing? In other words, let's say 5 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Well, that all depends on two or three other projects, which are film projects. Because I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I don't see my life turning upside down in any way unless one of the two screenplays I'm working on, one that was a commission from a producer actor who lives here, another I'm working on with an Irish film director who has a lot of connections. If one of those sell, then I see myself I don't know, living a different lifestyle. But I mean, I have no complaints right now, Blaine. I love my life right now. I mean, I like to be busy. My fiance Barbara, we're like night and day. She likes to be home and relaxing. I have to have something going on all the time. So all those things you said, how do you do all that stuff? It's kind of like my modus operandi. I like my time full.
And you mentioned your kids. You have how many children?
Two daughters.
Are they in theater at all?
Uh, both of them have been in theater. Uh, the eldest was also a visual artist, but she's now a school administrator. And the younger one actually teaches with me where I teach part-time high school in Land O'Lakes, Florida. But Charlotte, the younger one, is a actor, singer, and writer. She had a lot of success as a young writer, but she again, it's not like, hey, you know what you need to do, try to become a playwright like me and struggle your whole life. So the fact that she's decided that she maybe don't wants to do those kind of things for fun, I'm okay with that. She has a lot of plans for life. She's been all over the world, places I haven't been. She's figured out how to be an international camp counselor in Korea and Indonesia. She got a Fulbright scholarship and spent a year in Mongolia teaching English. I've never been to the southern or eastern hemisphere, so yeah.
If somebody wants to try to keep tabs on you or see what you're doing, what's the best bet?
Well, Facebook for sure. That's my go-to, which is I think I'm Bill Leavengood on Facebook. My email is 21st Century Playhouse at gmail.com. That's my LLC. Um, my website is down because the person who hosted and kept it up retired. And as I mentioned, I'm a technical idiot. So it's like, oh, all you have to do is this, that. And it's like, no, I don't have to or can't do anything. So I haven't had a website for about a year and a half. So I can't give them that. But if you look me up, you can find me. I'm still out there a lot on the internet. You can track me down.
Well, Bill, I'd like to thank you for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. Also, like
Pleasure.
my producer, Cappy Tassetti. Hopefully, we'll see you when you're back in town. Hopefully, it will be in the near
Yeah,
future.
well, it may be sooner than you think because one thing we didn't mention is that I'm in discussions with SART about a commission for a new musical. So that might be happening in the future and that'll bring me back.
And by the way, I should ask a final question. So you mentioned the comedy, you mentioned the musicals. In terms of writing, do you have a preference as to what kind of thing you write for?
I love it all. I really do. I think I like to switch gears. I would hate to keep writing the same. If I'm writing a comedy, I don't want to write another comedy and another comedy and another comedy. So I go, I've written one movie is a horror movie I'm working on with the Irish director. It's an action film. Uh, and I write, so I do all of it. I think the variety helps keep me interested. So that's it. There's comedy in everything I write, whether I mean to or not. Apparently I can't help it. Even the darkest stuff has stuff in it that's funny.
Well, Bill, you certainly keep me interested in what you're doing, so I look forward to seeing a lot more of it in the future. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Blaine. Thank you so much.